my whole issue with this movie is why why do people pick shit up and feel like they need to colonize it? Like, leave it alone.
You say pick shit up and colonize it.
Leave it alone.
Colonizing shit. It's and of course, and you've noticed it was a white woman who did it.
Wake up to a new morning, pop in a little nostalgia, just be kind and listen to the rewind.
Welcome to the Rewind Podcast, the show that explores TV and film through a queer millennial lens.
Simply put, we're nerds who happen to be gay and will unapologetically sing every lyric of Baby One More Time by Britney Spears with absolute conviction.
I'm Keenan.
And I am Jonah. And in this episode, we're taking a trip to hell for a review of the 2022 Hulu remake of the horror classic Hellraiser.
Their blood, their pain, all for us. What is it you pray for?
Spoiler warning, continue watching and listening at your own risk. Do. It's the thing that I love, right? Like, it's a mythology. They have this world building going on, this being the 11th movie, as we said. So it seems like something that I may want to go back and watch, but let me tell you. I'm so excited to talk about this movie, Jonah, because it was wild. Hellraiser is a 2022 American horror film directed by David Bruckner with a screenplay by Ben Collins and Patrick Piotrowski. From a screen story by David S. Goyer. Why do I know that name? That name sounds familiar.
Oh, well,
Uh,
I'm glad that you snagged it because he also wrote Blade, Batman Begins, and The Dark Knight.
oh, I love it. Okay, so it serves as a reboot of the 1987 film of the same name and the 11th installment in the Hellraiser franchise. The film also adheres closely to the source material novella by Clive Barker, The Hellbound Heart. So it was a novella? I
Yes,
didn't
he
know
wrote
that.
a series of novels apparently, which I didn't know either until I started researching for this. And yeah, he wrote that the original story, I guess, and it was adapted to film in like 1987,
Mhm.
and then there were like a slew of movies.
Yeah, like I knew there was like this thing that this Hellraiser franchise, this world, and these movies just kept coming out all the time. And I don't know what it was that I guess I just never was like presented with the opportunity to watch Hellraiser. I could have rented it. Like we did that every Friday night. And there was like, a little horror section in Dino Road Video. And I remember seeing the boxes. So I don't know. I guess I just never was never like, oh, I guess I really need to see this. Like, I loved Nightmare on Elm Street, but I don't know.
Oh, speaking
So
of, look what I'm wearing.
I was like, okay, on theme, follow your dreams.
I actually got this in San Diego last year.
I love it. I love it. We love it, San Diego Purchase.
I wore it
Oh,
in preparation for us covering a classic
I love it.
today. Well, a
I
remake
love
of a
it.
classic.
The project is a co-production between Spyglass Media Group and Phantom 4 Films. Directed by David Bruckner, VHS 94, The Night House, No One Gets Out Alive. I've not seen any of them. Jonah, I'm assuming you've seen these?
I've seen No One Gets Out Alive on Netflix. It was pretty interesting and intense. The Night House is relatively new. I haven't seen it yet, but it's kind of on my list. And then
Okay.
VHS, there's like a whole series of VHS like anthology films, and they're kind of
Okay.
scattered all over the place. And I mean, this has been years of these films. So he
Okay.
actually directed a few of them.
Okay. Okay. You go ahead, David Bruckner. Okay, producers include Clive Barker, David S. Goyer, Keith Levine, Mark Toberoff served as producers. Wow. Okay, I thank you, Jonah, for that setup.
Sorry. Sorry, I
Y'all, I'm
forgot
reading
to
from a
edit that.
script, okay? And
This is
Jonah,
from a script. This is all coming from the top of our heads. What are you talking about?
bitches, please. They know what's behind the
We're all
curtains.
that we're just that smart. We just know
Okay.
shit.
It's true. It is true. We do know random things. Okay, so let's get into this cast because let me tell you, Riley McKendry, I hated her. She got on my nerves.
The
I was
worst.
over her from the beginning, and
The
I wrote in my
worst.
notes, I wrote in my notes, she's about to bring these wholesome gays into her bullshit.
And what did she do?
She brought them
That's
wholesome
exactly
gays
what.
into her bullshit. They were laying in bed reading Lord Byron. Okay? They were reading Lord Byron to one another.
Yeah.
Riley, get out of here.
We didn't get much of their little love story, and they give us just enough to tease us and snatch away from us, and it was really heartbreaking because he always just wanted to help his sister, right? Like he was just trying to help her out.
Yes. Yes. And I was like, get her out. Don't leave the house looking for her. I'm sorry. Like, that was, I know, listen, I cannot make light of addiction. I know it is a mess and people go through a lot of shit, but fuck. Sorry. Jamie Clayton as the priest, aka Pinhead. So, of course, I'm new to all of this. I'm watching the first movie, I'm watching the second movie, and I'm like, okay, I guess Pinhead is like the thing. I didn't know they were like a
The leader.
priest of like whatever they were. I just knew like Pinhead was the one that was like,
Yeah.
get the chains, the chains.
Pinhead is the lead Cenobite and the Hell Priest. Pinhead is just sort of like their street name, if you will.
Oh my God. Okay. So Jamie Clayton as the priest. Then we have Adam Faison as Colin. Drew Starsky as Trevor. I knew he was no
Darky.
good. Starkey, that was not an extra S. Brandon Flynn as Matt McKendry. He only one with a full name. Goran Viznish as Roland Vought. Voight?
Is it?
Vought.
Wait, yeah.
Voight? Okay, I
Wait.
was like, no, Vought is the other show. Um, so I'm looking at Goran Viznish and I'm like, okay. Why does he look familiar? And then I'm watching something, I was reading an article looking for tea. I was truly looking just to see if there was any tea. And I saw his name and I was like, that's old dude from Practical Magic. And I was like, that is why I recognize him.
Yes, I knew
Yes.
there was something else older that I've watched him in recently
Yes.
again, and that's yes. He's also I've always known him from ER because I watched ER
Hmm.
religiously, and he was a main doctor, a main character in that show, one of the doctors. But yeah, I had forgotten he was also in Practical Magic. Oh, he was the worst.
The
He plays an
worst.
asshole
I've
really well.
never seen an episode of ER. Not
I
one.
wouldn't expect you to. You're not really into medical procedurals,
Mm-mm.
which is
I can't think
interesting
of
to me because
anything
you're
that I
very
like.
interested in medicine, right? Like you're interested in medicine and
Yeah,
health.
like
So I would think
yeah.
that that would be a natural
I've
leaning
never
for
really
you.
gotten into any of them. I really those only kinds of a medical one. The closest thing to a medical procedural, and it was in the morgue, was iZombie. I feel like that was really it,
Did
and
you
that's
ever
because
watch
she
True
worked in a morgue.
Calling with Eliza
Mm-mm.
Dushku?
I never watched it.
I think
I
you would really
remember
like
it.
it.
Did I? I can't remember. I remember it. Was it a Fox show or was it a WB show?
Oh, I want to say Fox, but it could have been WB. I'm not sure. It was only 2 seasons,
Fox
and
sounds right.
she,
So who was
started
in
as a
Dollhouse?
medical assistant or medical examiner or whatever, who she would get visions from the dead, and she would go to solve their murder or whatever. So it was
Mm,
sort of supernatural. But
oh, I
it
remember.
had like
Yes, I
a
do remember. I
iZombie
remember. She was
feel.
like, I was like, it's Faith with premonition.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
So I'll revisit that. Why not? I don't recall watching it. Who was in Dollhouse? Was that her too?
Yes, she was in
Okay.
Dollhouse as well.
I feel like I watched Dollhouse up until a point, and then I couldn't tell you anything. I really couldn't tell you anything about it now, but I remember watching it faithfully for maybe 2 seasons, and it kept going. And maybe it's when I started working. I don't know. I don't remember, but
I
it
think it
was.
only had 2 seasons, right?
Don't make me lie. But that has nothing to do with
No,
with
not at all.
Pinhead and the Cenobites and all that stuff. So this, wow, this movie has a tomato meter score of 67% and a popcorn meter score of 58%. I think everyone also disliked Riley. The 2022 film Hellraiser is a reinvention of Clive Barker's 1987 horror classic in which a young woman struggling with addiction comes into possession of an ancient puzzle box, unaware that its purpose is to summon the Cenobites, a group of sadistic supernatural beings from another dimension. My whole issue with this movie is why why do people pick shit up and feel like they need to colonize it? Like, leave it alone.
Every
Leave it
time
alone.
you say pick shit up and colonize it.
Leave it alone.
Colonizing shit. It's and of course, and you've noticed it was a white woman who did it. Oh
Like,
shit. We
who's
just
like,
can't leave shit
I'm gonna
alone.
go. I'm so angry. I'm gonna solve this puzzle box. Ugh, ugh, You know what? You know what? Let's take a break, and Jonah, we'll get into it. Okay. So, Jonah, tell us the background on the Hellraiser universe.
Well, I went a little crazy. Well,
I
I
can
went
see.
fucking nuts. I went fucking nuts with the research. I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna add this. All the things." Just like a fucking like psycho buffet of information.
I love
Um,
it. Well, what I'm
s-
gonna do is mute myself so I can drink some water while you read, and when I have something hilarious to say, I'll chime in.
Sounds like a plan. This is my official TED Talk. Okay, so a little bit of background about the Hellraiser universe. This is courtesy of Hellraiser Wiki fandom page. About the Cenobites specifically, which I love the Cenobites. They're like the evil, sadistic Avengers. I just love it. As Hell Priest himself, Pinhead, says, explores in the further regions of experience, demons to some, angels to others. When,
Angels to whom? I'm trying to find out to whom.
well, they grant essentially a wish if you figure out the Lament configuration. But there's a twist sometimes.
Of
So,
course, this is very much a be careful what you wish for
mhm,
story.
yeah.
I'm assuming all of them are that way. Um, I don't feel like the first movie really gave a lot of that mythology. I feel like some of it is just stuff I know from like pop culture and people like talk about it,
Mhm.
but the
Yeah,
first movie
the
just seemed pretty
original
straightforward.
original it was a little too straightforward. The original just really didn't. I think they get more into that mythos like in the sequels, especially like the second, third, fourth films, apparently from what I've read. And, you and I prepped for this one by watching the original, and I always thought that I had seen the original because I remember seeing one of them as a child. And as after I rewatched, I'm like, I don't remember. I remember zilch about this movie. I think it was one of the sequels that I had to watch because I one remember the one I watched being much better, much more interesting, and scarier. That wasn't scary at all to me. It was laughable. But we'll
I'm
get into
trying to
that.
find the exact text I sent you after I watched this movie.
You
And
said I actually pulled it up earlier. You said I just finished the OG Hellraiser. Whatever I had in my head was a better movie. And I said, after watching, I am now convinced that whichever one I saw when I was a kid was not that one. Yeah. So the Cenobites are extra dimensional beings who exist in an extra dimensional realm and are present in Clive Barker's writings, The Hellbound Heart, The Scarlet Gospels, and 11 Hellraiser films. They are also mentioned in passing in the novel Weave world by the character Immaculata, who calls them the surgeons. They can reach Earth's reality
not the
only through a
surgeon.
schism in time and space, which is open and closed using certain unearthly artifacts. The most common form of these artifacts is that of an inconspicuous looking puzzle box called the Lament Configuration, which we will get into in more depth. The Cenobites vary in number, appearance, and motivations depending on the medium, film, comic book, etc., in which they appear. The involvement of multiple parties in the production of Hellraiser films and comics, many eschewing the creative supervision of Clive Barker, have led to varying levels of consistency regarding the canonical. How do you say this? I always feel like I'm
Canonical.
stroking out. Canonical? Okay. Why do these words exist? Aspects of
Because
their
nerds
philosophies and
exist.
abilities. Clearly.
We take up space, baby.
So, a little insight into the Cenobites' powers and abilities in the films, particularly. This just goes into the film versions of these characters, not the novels. The physical compositions of the Cenobites gives each of them a number of unique abilities, but there are a few traits common or standard to all. When summoned, they seem to be able to decide exactly when, where, and by what means they will appear. Though not entirely confirmed, they seem to be able to summon forth their chains from any nearby shadows. They each seem to possess great strength, heightened resistance to damage, and some degree of supernatural empathy. They also tend to be patient, logical, and discerning.
Empathy, the smallest degree.
Yeah. Yeah, like very
Save your
like
voice for screaming.
right,
Okay.
small little doses. Although I did clock in the original film how, if you recall, once she leads them essentially to her uncle, who is a perpetrator of the box, if you will, and had escaped from hell from their torture.
Hmm.
He they showed up, they start to torture him, and they tell her this is not for your eyes. So essentially it seemed like they were willingly letting her go. But then you had like a rogue Cenobite who was like, I have my eyes on you. I'm not done with you. And then they were all kind of like coming for her at that point.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I that's where I kind of it kind of the empathy part kind of like came into my like
I thought it was like, this is not for your eyes because it's not time for you to see it yet. I want this to be a surprise
mm,
when it happens to you.
mm. You know what? That's probably actually more accurate. I'm giving them way
Yes.
too much credit. So here is a very interesting theory that I found on the fandom page. The theory is that Candyman is a Cenobite. So both stories which Hellraiser and Candyman are based off of are by Clive Barker. And I don't think I remembered that until I read this, that Clive Barker is the creator of Candyman. I'm like, of course he is. Each character, both Candyman and the Cenobites, only cause mayhem when they are summoned. On top of that, all they know after their deaths are pain and pleasure. While the Candyman has similarities to the Cenobites, it's more likely Candyman is like an agent of another section of hell. And the film versions of the Cenobites are mostly people who
You
went into
keep
hell
saying his
willingly.
name. I just want you to know that. And I feel like you're looking at a mirror situation. So I hope you're keeping
No,
count.
it doesn't count.
It
This doesn't
does.
count.
It does.
The film versions of the Cenobites are mostly people who went into hell willingly or were Pinhead craft projects. I love that explanation. Pinhead craft projects. Meanwhile, Candyman has a bit more sympathetic death, but he could have been offered the job by Leviathan with his entry based on a belief. Leviathan, as we know, is the king of hell.
I
Story-wise,
don't think I knew
Candyman,
that.
I didn't either. I was like, why is that name floating around in my head? And they mention it, but they don't really like explain it, which we'll get into because I have some qualms about the lack of explanation in these films, including the remake. Um,
Hmm.
but Leviathan, yeah, I researched and that he is the king of hell.
Okay.
Story-wise, Candyman generally is still a thing that is summoned into the world by belief, and in Clive Barker's novel, The Hellbound Heart, Kirsty wonders if there are other portals into hell, so perhaps it's not too far-fetched an idea. What do you think about that? Do you think he could be a Cenobite or a version of a Cenobite?
I don't know. I guess it depends on if he was offered a choice, like at death, if it was like, I don't know, because he seeks like vengeance, and I feel like unless there's some like there's this weird pleasure in vengeance, then
He does seem to get off on his murders.
well, I think that also brings him one step closer to existence, right? Like, because the more he kills, the more people believe in it.
Yeah, I think that holds up. I'm not as familiar with Candyman lore. That was when I didn't watch a lot growing up. I
I remember watching that movie, and I did not like the bathroom door for like the whole summer. I was so scared. And my grandma's house had this long mirror that
Not
stretched
a
like the
long
entire
mirror.
wall. Yeah, because she had like this big
No.
countertop situation.
Hmm.
And so the mirror went the whole length, still one sink, one bowl, but it still went the length of the thing, which was like longer than the shower. So there's just like mirror. And it's like, oh my God, there's so much space for him to just roll out the mirror.
Those mirrors freak me out. When I see them in like restaurants or like restrooms in
Yes,
public, I'm like, why is this mirror? Why is there so much of this mirror? Like, there's this room's
it's
not
just
even big
like,
enough for that many people.
it's just, okay. Yeah. And that's what
So
happens when you have an overactive imagination as a child.
yeah, I remember like my version of that was Bloody Mary, which is funny because I never saw any kind of film that I can recall that depicted Bloody Mary, but that's essentially what
Hmm.
Candyman is that same sort of tale, right?
Yeah, but like Candyman was completely made up. Like that's an original story, right? Like that wasn't a thing that happened. Because I remember trying to look it up to see if like there was that. But from what I understand, that was an original story.
Then where did the Bloody Mary lore come from?
I
Which
think
came
that's supposed to
first?
be like I think Bloody Mary may be in reference to like one of those Scottish queens that was still Catholic that like killed a bunch of Protestants. I could be wrong.
Oh,
I could be wrong.
yeah.
Tell me about the Lament Configuration.
It's very interesting. So the
Okay.
Lament Configuration is a fictional lock puzzle or puzzle box appearing in horror stories by Clive Barker or in works based on his original stories. The best known of these boxes is Le Marchand's box. I don't think that's how you say that. I looked up how do you say it, but I can't remember how it says. So that's
The Marchand.
Le Marchand's box, which features prominently throughout the Hellraiser movie series. This was designed and made by Simon Says, one of the original creative team. A Le Marchand's box is a mystical mechanical device that acts as a door or a key to a door to another dimension or plane of existence. The solution of the puzzle creates a bridge through which beings may travel in either direction across this schism. The inhabitants of these other realms may seem demonic to humans. An ongoing debate in the film series is whether the realm accessed by the Lament Configuration is intended to be the Christian version of hell or some other dimension of endless pain and suffering.
Mm.
In the 2022 Hellraiser remake, particularly, the Lament Configuration is more intricate and has 6 configurations that it takes after it cuts someone with a blade that protrudes from it, which is different, obviously, from the original, which just sends like electrical shocks to the person and that activates the door. But in this case, it's a blade that pops out. And when I tell you, every time they held that fucking box, I was stressed the
I
whole time.
was
I'm like, why
like,
are you still holding it?
even when he like, how I was still trying to figure out how the brother cut himself because I was like, did you not see that big ass blade sticking out the side of that box?
I guess not. Yeah. But it's interesting, right? Because so she's an addict. And normally when you're dealing with an addict, like if you're helping them up, you're going through their pockets or you're touching their belongings, you want to be careful of other sharp objects, right? Like a hypodermic needle.
Exactly.
And in this case, the sharp object was a a hell key that led to his torture
Right.
and death.
Oh, oh, that made me
Crazy.
so mad. I was so mad. I was like, he just wanted to take care of his sister.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it is interesting that they kind of set him up like he was going to be the main like protagonist, right? Is how it kind of
no, and we're
feels.
like snatched
Right, right.
immediately. But what I, okay, I will say this about this movie is that they gave me enough of the brother, boyfriend, and friend to make me care about their deaths and to make me
Mm,
care about the boyfriend. Like I was concerned when he got wrapped up with those wires. I was like, not the end.
yeah.
And so I was so glad when old dude
I
got it.
thought I thought you were about to say wrapped up with those white people.
All of it. Listen, listen, because the boyfriend was a man of color, and then
Hmm.
the best friend was a woman of color. And I was so bad. Like her death was, I was like, girl, why did you go?
I
You should have been
know.
like, I ain't in this. I'm not in any of this. I love you, but I gotta love you from afar. I'm not in it.
Yes. So each configuration has a name that represents a different desire.
I did love
Lament
that.
represents life. Lore represents knowledge. Laudorant represents love. Liminal represents sensation. Lazarus, resurrection. And Leviathan, power. Whosoever holds the Leviathan configuration after 5 sacrifices are made is granted an audience with Leviathan, king of hell, and granted one of 6 desires based on the puzzle box. Roland Voigt, who had the puzzle box and manipulated 5 others to solve it for him, chose Liminal for his reward, but the gift gave him endless pain with a contraption that impaled his body and manipulated his nerves at random times, causing him agony just enough so that he could never go numb. It's so crazy. It's
Be
actually really
careful.
creative.
Very creative. I was like, oh, 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 oh.
Yeah.
When it first, like when they first showed it and it was going off, I was like,
I
oh my
tried
God.
to wrap my head around the intensely nonstop pain that would cause, and I just I can't possibly wrap my head around that. After a certain point, do you just become desensitized to it, or like,
Well, that's the point. Is like no. So I think he learned how to not scream from the pain because there were times where he just go.
mhm, when the box would shift, or when the
But
gears
it
would
went
turn or
off
whatever?
like he said at like sporadic times. So like he could never kind of like heal to the point where it would be numb for it to
Hmm.
happen. Like it
Ugh.
would just. It's not like it was every 5 minutes or every. It could be like
Yeah,
2 minutes, 2 days, 30 minutes.
yeah.
Like oh.
So rad. So rad. I was so into it. He used the puzzle box a second time to summon Leviathan and return the gift, only to learn from Pinhead that their gifts can't be returned, but exchanged for different gifts. So he chooses power instead and is taken
Of
away
course.
by Leviathan. Riley, a young woman recovering from drug addiction, is offered a reward by Leviathan, but chooses no reward, having seen what they do, preferring to live with the grief and pain she caused others. And according to the Cenobites, this is the lament configuration by choosing to live with the bitter and brief pain and suffering caused. The puzzle box reverts back to its first configuration and is left behind in Void's mansion.
Which I was like, girl, if you don't take that box and do something with it, the next situation is on you.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like
Well,
had she
there's a
chosen
reason.
resurrection, I feel like had she chosen resurrection, they would have taken her and brought her brother back. And in my mind, I feel like she knew that, and that is why she chose no gift. I think very little of Riley. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
might get
Riley's
burned for
not.
this.
No, why would you? I don't. Who would like her? I mean, she's not a very likable character in the least. She's very whiny throughout the whole film. Like, bitch, why you upset? Why you crying? This is all your fault. Well, really, it was more like her
Well,
boyfriend's
that
fault.
boyfriend, it
Because,
was all on him. It was all on
yeah,
him because he played on her like I don't
vulnerability.
know. Yeah, yeah, he definitely played on her vulnerability, but still it was like, girl,
Well,
I'm
there's a
finding
reason
that.
that the box was left behind at the mansion and she didn't do anything with it because a sequel is in development.
Oh, of course.
So that'll be interesting. I look forward to seeing Jamie Clayton again return to that role. Jamie Clayton as Pinhead was the highlight of the film for me, and all the Cenobites were the highlight of the film. But yeah, it was, and then the creative like torture. It was just all I'm very interested in all of that. I don't know why I'm so interested in the mythology of Hellraiser and the Cenobites. I think it's just so fucked up that you're like, man, who thought of this? Like, and obviously Clive Barker did, but like, I'm like, what inspired that in him to? I'm like, I want to get into that psyche, right? Of like, what inspired these like hideous, sadistic, horrendous versions of demons, essentially.
I don't know, but like put it all on the page and don't do it in real life and let's keep on moving.
Yeah. So, how did this remake compare differ from the original film?
I appreciate that this remake attempted to give you more backstory and like really establish that hey, there was this dude that had been messing with it for a while and then all of a sudden he disappeared. So like there were things for them to work with. In this new movie, they were just in a random situation. The old movie,
It was something. I'm starting to. As I was watching, I'm like, okay, I think I realize now why I probably never watched this or was allowed to watch this as a child because they lean really hard into the sexual sadism.
Yeah,
aspects of it.
but what is so wild to me is that actress, whatever her name is, who played the lady in the movie. I guess I
Oh
should look it up.
God,
I
yeah,
don't remember.
yeah. I'll look
And
up
I am willing, but I was like, this was 1987.
Claire Higgins.
Was that the look in 1987? I,
That had
Jonah, I
men
need you.
fawning.
You gotta put a clip up of like just some video of okay, like so in my notes, Jonah, I wrote, oh my God, when she broke bad, her whole color palette changed. Like she she had on like this, like I feel like a denim top and some light paint. Like she was very much like, oh, we're in this house and we're gonna make this work, you know. And then all of a sudden her hair, like she already had that like coiffed pull back situation. It's very much evil stepmother from Cinderella. The
Like
way it was just
it,
like
it's like
pull back.
middle-aged grandma perm.
Yes, yes, it is so it's like a very much an old lady style now. And oh my God, Jonah, we specifically had a coworker who rocked this hairstyle every day. And
Yes,
I'll
me
name drop.
too. That woman actually reminds me a lot of her now that you say that, and that's so disturbing.
Listening, hearing some of her, like just some of the illusions and things that she did when she was younger, that was her.
Yeah.
But like the when she broke bad, like it got tighter on the sides and it just got a little bit bigger, and the eyeshadow was just very like it was war paint, baby. She was going out.
And
She
the
was looking
lipstick
for a man.
was
Oh my God.
bloody red.
She was out and like it was all like dark brown and blacks and like she was just her whole color palette changed. It was hilarious. And then I was like, I go, was Frank the dude from the beginning? And I was like, not it being full circle. So Frank was a freak. Okay.
Freak, capital F, freak.
And then I was like, are we about to like watch him SA her? And then I was like, oh no, she hot. She hot.
Yeah,
She was
she
ready to
into it.
go.
She
She
into
was
it.
ready to go. She said, I'll do anything, Frank. Don't leave.
Anything. And she did.
And did. She kept her word. She stood by her man or her her brother-in-law.
But
Oh
the
my
thing
God.
is, it was a one-time fling. That dick must have been good because they only fucked the one
Hit
time.
Nata on top of her wedding dress in her marital bed. I was like, my note said, on top of her wedding dress, that is diabolical.
Yes. I didn't even clock the wedding dress. The marital
That
bed, yes, but
it was very like preciously placed. Like the way it was just draped across. I was like, was she just out like printing in her wedding dress earlier, just like spinning around the mirror or something? Or did she go like, I'm about to fuck my husband's brother and I'm gonna do it on top of my wedding dress? Like, what
imagine
happened?
imagine what an incredible villainess you have to be standing at the altar or walking down the altar to your groom to be or your husband to be and knowing that you have your brother-in-law to be's cum all over that dress. If they were to take a light to her, she would have glowed
No, this was
wait.
after the no, that was after the wedding.
Oh,
I don't know.
after the wedding.
Yeah, no, they were married at that point in time. Like I don't know why Frank was there. I didn't catch that part of the story, but it's not like maybe that makes sense that it was the night before the wedding, but just the way it was laid out, it was like why it seems like it was placed on purpose. Like she was like, ha, 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 screw my husband.
That is one of
Uh,
those scenes I feel like was probably better, more interesting in the novels, like written.
Oh, it's
as
probably
opposed
written
to,
much better than the way it
yeah,
was.
I bet it was
But
hot
like,
as hell.
oh my God, I just can't get over her hair. I was like, was that the look in 87? I don't know. I don't
I
know.
kept asking myself that question through the whole film. I'm like, why are they are acting like this woman just walked right off a runway in France and is the most gorgeous woman they've ever seen. And I'm like, but of course all the men that she brought home were like dud from Dud
They were
Town,
all, oh my God, what was his name? What was
Dudifornia.
the principal's name on Buffy? What was his name? Principal what?
Snyder.
Yes, they were all little Snyders.
They were
And they were
all little
all
Snyders.
Principal Snyders. I was like, oh wow.
Ew.
That's what she pulls. But listen, she was on a mission. Her only but she was on a mission. Oh my
She
God.
low-key enjoyed it though.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was more fun to see her go bad and like just the nights when she was just listening to her husband, not caring what he was talking about. Like she was just like, I'm evil now. I'm evil and I love it. Mm,
Yes.
the things I have done. It was
She was very impressed
so
with herself.
that was way more fun than being annoyed with Riley the whole time. To get back to the differences, I feel
Yeah.
like I spent much more of the remake being annoyed. It was a little fun. The first movie was a little fun. The new one gave a lot of backstory, which is good. It's like, oh, give me a little bit about the mythology. I don't know anything about it. If you're gonna
Mm.
build on the mythology, now is a great time to do it because I know nothing. Um, I just could not stand Riley.
I just really hope they don't bring Riley back. I'm like, let's have someone else.
Yeah,
I
listen,
would
because
take Colin. I'm like, can we get more of
leave Colin out of this. Leave Colin out of it. He has done enough. Let him live his life. He's gonna have
fair?
scar those fucking razor scar. How's he going to the hospital and explaining that?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, he should have been dead like hours before. Like, I mean, because the amount of blood loss, the wounds that he received, I'm like, I don't understand how he was able to walk out of there. You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
know.
Like,
I don't know. I was like, let Colin live his life. Let him move on. Like he deserves the world at this point. Like he was in love. Like, I'm so sad for him. I was like, these wholesome gays' life's about to be turned upside down. I'm not here for it at all. I don't want anything. I don't want this. I don't want this queer drama.
he should have snatched Riley. And when he found out that it was her boyfriend Trevor's like fault, essentially, that he should have snatched him too. Just so fucked up.
I'm so
But
glad Trevor got taken out. That was great. That was good. I was like, that was the best thing you did the whole movie.
yeah,
The
yeah.
best thing. Gone. Trash ass man.
Yeah, I really I the reason that I really wanted to watch this film was because of Jamie Clayton as Pinhead. And we're gonna get into more trivia, but I'll just go ahead and say this now that this was the first time in that that the Pinhead character was played by a woman. And so it was really highly anticipated. Not just that, but also because she's a trans woman. And so when it was
Hmm.
announced that she was going to be playing this character, like there was a lot of excitement and buzz, but you know there had to have been a lot of in the fandom who were salty about it. And I wonder if that has to do with the rating being lower than I anticipated on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm nothing to do with it. I mean, like, I'm always excited to hear more trans people getting roles. Yeah, I'm glad about that. Maybe it's also because I have no ties to this franchise. I was like, okay, Pinhead's woman, moving on. Because to me, even just watching it a couple of days ago, and even now. So I'm only having, her and then the OG person to like go
Right.
by. I was like, Pinhead could have been anybody.
Right.
Anybody could have been
Which makes
Pinhead.
sense. That makes sense for you. For the Phantom, there were 10 whole films where it's just been nothing but like a male Pinhead. And I can see where that was like quite the shakeup for them, but I find it really exciting. I wasn't married to the franchise the way that some probably like some hardcore fans probably
Hmm.
was. And I love there's something about a woman being the lead villain, the lead torturess, if you will, that makes it more chilling to me almost. Like the fact that she's dishing out this level of torture and mayhem uh,
Hmm.
is really like, oh, it makes, Pinhead more thrilling and terrifying to me, honestly. So would really love to see her come back. I really hope. I'm assuming that's gonna be the case. But um do we feel like this new iteration was worth creating? Does it lend anything to the franchise? Take away?
I mean, and the fact that I feel like I got more history, yeah, to me, only having seen the first one and this one, I feel like I
Mhm.
got, I feel like I got more history of everything going on. And so even if they gave something that's new to the lore, I feel like this movie introduced more lore than the first from the original run did. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we looking forward to more?
As long as Riley doesn't come back and they leave what's his name, Colin, alone.
Leave Colin
Let's-
in peace.
Yes, let him be. Let him be. Um, because the first thing they'll want to do if they come back is just like go after the original. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Leave Colin alone.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the brother's name? Which one was the brother?
Matt.
Matt. Okay.
Matt
Everybody's name
McKendry.
was Matt, Trevor, and Collins. They're all basic names.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back to rate it. Let's get into some fun facts and behind the scenes trivia. So, this is courtesy of Hellraiser Wiki Fandom and IMDb. In the 2022 remake, some of the puzzle box's configurations seem to expand in size. The known configurations that do this are the Laudrent, Liminal, and Lazarus configurations. The Lazarus configuration is the first configuration to be seen. The front of it resembles the Lament configuration on its side. The liminal configuration seems to be the simplest configuration to solve, as it only required a person collapsing it into itself. I feel like I just read something out of like a like a calculus book or something. The Hell Priest reveals that any gift given by the Cenobites cannot be returned, but exchanged for a different gift based upon one of the other configurations. However, it seems that a secondary audience is required in order to make an exchange. When blood is drawn by the blade of the puzzle box, it absorbs the blood of those marked into itself, holding it to be offered to Leviathan for the audience. This latest remake is the first film in the franchise to feature a female Pinhead who is played by trans actor Jamie Clayton. And I thought it was really cool, this tweet that Doug Bradley tweeted in regards to Jamie Clayton's performance. So Doug Bradley, as I mentioned earlier, was the original Pinhead,
Hmm.
said on Twitter, quote, I'm a bit blown away by this. The clever redesign of the makeup, the shimmer of the pinheads, the palette, whatever that keyhole, locket, tracheotomy thing is at the throat. It's simple, subtle, disturbing, and sexy. Everything it should be. Peace and pain, Doug. Thought
That's
that was
cute.
really cute.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I watch these movies one day apart. Outside of the shining pins, I couldn't tell you any difference between between either Pinhead. I was like, one is a 1987 camera and one is a 2022 camera, and that is it. Like, I'm sure they were completely different, and
Hmm.
but in my mind, it was just, they had the same shit on. I honestly I can
Yeah.
tell you the differences like that.
Yeah, I think there was probably, I mean, I understand what you mean because it's just trying to replay it. Even after having seen the remake twice, and then having seen the original the one time and having no, no Pinhead from years ago when I watched it
Hmm.
as a child, I really couldn't tell you the full like makeup because it's just so intricate.
Okay, I take that back. I really wasn't paying any attention, but I did read something a little bit earlier about the way like the Cenobites' clothes are designed in this way because it's all like peeled back flesh, whereas in the original everyone was just in like leather. So, okay, I'll lament. Okay, rating it. The mortgage was due. Jonah, where you at?
I want to say somewhere between nostalgia blankets and a good time.
I didn't have a good time with this movie. I wanted to. I did not. I did not, and I'll never watch it again. There's just no way I'll ever watch it again. Will I watch the sequel? Nah, we'll see. If we talk about it here, then probably. But other than that, I wanted to enjoy it. Like, I don't love Sense 8. That's the only thing I know the actress who played the like Pinhead from.
Mhm.
So uh, I wasn't like that didn't give me any warm and fuzzies about it. Like I went into this movie with nothing to tether me to it, and I left the movie just truly not caring about it, and probably a slightly higher blood pressure because of how much Riley got on my nerves.
Mhm. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting, like the two sides of the coin here, where I tune in for it specifically for the nostalgic aspect of it and the
Hmm.
curiosity to see the first female Pinhead, and and then you came in as a total newbie to this world, and I think it's refreshing that we were able to both give those two different perspectives. Yeah, I probably will watch again just because I actually want to go through the full Hellraiser series, especially now that
Hmm.
I've researched like the Cenobites and the Hellraiser universe and everything. It makes me really curious to see how, because apparently the Cenobites unfold more in terms of their individual abilities and powers, and their
Hmm.
Pinhead creates new Cenobites in the coming films or the films that following the original, and I'm really interested in seeing that. 10 films though, that's a lot. Well, I guess it would
I
be
mean,
more
they're all
like
like what, like
9 at this point.
a buck 50, like they're all like
Relatively short, yeah, I think.
yeah. I think, you could probably kill that in a couple of weekends. And I contemplated watching them, but I just like, I don't care.
Let's get into what you watching.
Girl, what you watching?
What am I watching? High Potential has been back on, and I was super late to it. So I had a good time catching up on a few episodes of that show. SNL did like a 50th anniversary special that was a good time, and they had like this behind the scenes kind of like documentary style series that I was watching. I haven't finished it, but it was really interesting. They talk about a lot of the original stuff. They talk about, like there's one that follows an episode, and it is the episode. I cannot remember her name. She is the young black actress on The Bear. Io.
IO. Ooh,
I can't remember.
Mm,
Well, she was on an episode of SNL, and that just so happened to be the one that they recorded. It was
mm,
kind of a funny episode. So it's like, oh, this was fun to like see the behind the scenes, like the week of building the show and like
yeah.
talking to some of the writers and following that. So the it's been pretty interesting to watch. So that's kind of some of the interlude stuff I've been watching.
I've heard about that, and SNL 50th has been a big thing in like entertainment media right now. I've been seeing a lot of the clips and red carpet interviews and stuff, and and performances and all that, and so it's on my list to watch that. And I've heard about the documentary, and I think that sounds interesting too. I'm very fascinated. I just started a series called Zero Day. It's brand new on Netflix, and it stars Robert De Niro, Lizzie Kaplan, Jesse Plemons, Angela Bassett, Connie Britton, Joan Allen. So it's a great star-studded lineup of
Mhm.
cast, and I'm only the one episode in, and honestly, I don't even know if it's the full episode now I think about it. I think I pieced out last night to get some sleep because it was like late. But it's
Mhm.
interesting. It is kind of a as IMDb, it's a TV miniseries, and so I'm always here for a miniseries because I'm like, okay, this doesn't commit me to like 3 seasons inevitably, the way Netflix's formula works, and so I like the idea of a miniseries with the potential for a for it to spin off into a multi-season arc, but I don't know if that will happen with this, but it's described as a political conspiracy thriller centering on a devastating global cyber attack. So Robert De Niro is the former
Why
president.
too close to home right now?
Yeah, that's the one thing about this is like I'm like, oh, do I have the bandwidth to take this on top of everything else? It's just the timing of it just is a bit like deflating, but it does look interesting, although it is a bit upsetting with how,
The state we're in right now.
yeah. Um and the cyber attack that they like it's very easily something that could happen, I think.
Hmm.
So but I just started that. I don't know if I'm going to commit to it just yet, but I also just watched Rosebud Baker's new comedy special on Netflix called The Mother Lode, and I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's a stand-up
Hmm.
comedian and writer for SNL, and she's one of my favorites. I absolutely love her. I love
She
her
might have been
brand
in
of
that
comedy.
documentary.
Possibly. She's been with SNL for a few years. But I just really like her style. So she basically films a special over 2 different timelines. One's where she recorded back when she was pregnant, and then the other timeline was after she gave birth. And so it's kind of spliced together. And at first it's trippy. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like I feel like it's gonna take me out of it, but it really doesn't. And the fact that she incorporates like, you know, navigating motherhood in the roughest of ways doesn't take me out of it either, even though that's not relatable to me. It's still really funny. And I laughed so hard that I got hoarse. It's really probably one of my favorite specials that I've seen in the past, like couple of years. So if you're looking for a good laugh, like really raunchy, there's one point where she talks about like sucking dick and she's talking about it while she's pregnant. So it's just kind of funny to me. I mean, there's like a woman in the audience on the front row who's like a middle-aged woman, and the woman keeps looking away, and she's like, "No, look me in the eyes as I tell this story about sucking my husband's." So that was fun. And I still continue my Xena rewatch. I'm winding it down to I'm on the last season. I'm in the Norse gods era, and I'm really enjoying it for the camp, obviously, which is
Oh,
like
of
I've
course.
said it before. I've not always liked camp. When you and I first met and we were sharing our like our horror interests, like a lot of yours were different from mine, or your reason for watching a lot of the classics, like was different from my interest because you're very into camp and I just wasn't. But like over the years, I've just really warmed up to it, and I appreciate a good like laugh in a horror movie now. And that is one thing I think I realized. I don't think I consider myself like a fresh camp lover of horror until this Hellraiser, the watch of the original Hellraiser, and I was like, I am really digging, even though everything about it was awful. I was
I
really
think
digging the ridiculousness of it.
for me, it's not that it's camp on purpose. It's that it's unintentional camp
Uh-huh.
is what makes it
Yes.
hilarious.
Right.
And it makes it even better for me. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, they were really serious with this, but what they made was a comedy and they just didn't know. Oh my God, her hair. Her
Oh
hair in that
yeah.
movie was just
Her
so
hair was
extreme.
herring.
Ugh, it was harrowing. Uh, oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, thanks for listening to the Rewind podcast. Before you go, please take a moment to show some love for your favorite podcast by leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Every positive review, rating, and subscriber helps.
You can connect with us on the socials. Find us on Facebook at the Rewind Podcast 1 or just search the Rewind Podcast. We're on Blue Sky at the Rewind Podcast dot, all the stuff at the end. Instagram at the Rewind Podcast and TikTok at the Rewind Podcast.
We'd love to hear from you. Email the Rewind Podcast one at gmail.com. You can also hit up me on Instagram at jstaylorwrites and at keeping.it.reels.
You can follow me on Blue Sky and Instagram at Keeks on Camera. Alrighty, everyone, be kind.
And please rewind.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Just be kind and listen to the rewind.